complexities of recording sessions, and how do you compensate for them?
Well, recording is entirely different than playing in person. In the recording studio, it's more like a laboratory. You're able to be much more selective about what you create. Whereas in person, there's a greater degree of spontaneity about the whole thing.
Ray, how much time do you spend in a recording session to cut a single?
Oh, it varies. Some come pretty quick, others take quite a while.
What is quite a while, and then how would a single compare to an album?
Well, the single's just one cut. You know, an album is 11, 12 cuts, so that takes 11 or 12 times as long as a single does.
Naturally. And do you record an album in one day, or do you spend several days?
No, it usually takes weeks to record.
Weeks. And then how soon after it's recorded is it released?
Well, that usually depends on the record company, depending on how the sales are doing and, you know, what time of year it is and how long it's been between singles and albums and all sorts of factors, really.
We are speaking with Ray Manzarek of The Doors, and one final question before turning it back to Mike Lazar. Ray, how much time do you feel it'll take an album to really catch on if it has a sound and it says something?
I think that depends on the group, how well known they are. Like our first album took quite a while. It was released in January, and it's just, it's number 2 now in the nation. So that's taken quite a long time. I don't imagine the next one will take nearly so long because the people know the name, The Doors. They'll say, oh yes, that's a new Doors album. Let's hear what they've got to say.
And is there one season of the year when record sales are usually better than any other season?
Gee, I don't know. You'd have to ask the record companies about that.
All right, and with that, we'll turn it back to Mike Lazar.
Thank you, Steve. Now we're back with The Doors. I'd like to find out something about your touring. Right now, are you on a tour, or are you just doing a bunch of one-nighters?
What's the difference?
On a tour, isn't it every night you have a certain concert, whereas otherwise you're just playing certain nights a week?
Yeah, I guess we have a few days off this time.
But how much of the year do you go on concerts like this?
Every couple of weeks.
Do you like playing for college audiences more than the big stadiums? Like, let's say, a Big Shea Stadium deal or some of the big War Memorial concerts. Could you compare the two?
This is our first college engagement.
So right now it's actually a test for you, too, to see what their audience is like.
Yes.
How have you liked the bigger audiences so far?
The bigger, the better.
The bigger, the better. Do you mind them screaming?
No, they don't usually, though.
They don't. Do you find that your personal lives are taken up quite a bit with this, that you can't, like if you recognize that everybody will start chasing you, do you ever find this?
People don't do that anymore.
You have pretty much of your own lives.
Although there's no separation between personal life and this life. It's all the same life.
Do you find that? But do you find that no matter what you're doing in life, it's still part of the Doors, like in your private life?
Yeah, you can't separate them.
You're always being taken up with recording sessions or picture sessions or other things.
Well, just like, does a student have a personal life?
Yes, there's an academic life and a social life.
So when he's having a social life, he's not a student anymore.
He's not in his student role. He is a student.
He's still registered
right.
as a student.
Mm-hmm. So you lead your own life, but you're still registered with the Doors so much. Thing.
It's like when a policeman's off duty, he's still a policeman, right?
Exactly. We'll turn it back to Steve Fusserton again.
Speaking now with Robbie Krieger of The Doors. Robbie, do you fellows ever have the opportunity to evaluate yourselves constructively?
No.
You ever sit down and listen to your records and listen for flaws?
Well, every time we hear our records, we hear all the flaws in them. You know, we don't have to sit down and look for them.
Is it like anything else? You hear the flaws, but the public doesn't?
Yeah.
Because you're aware of them. And Jim Morrison, what instrument do you play?
I sing.
And do you play any instrument?
No.
Do you prefer playing at a place like Forest Hills Tennis Stadium or at the Village Theater?
I like playing any place where we're the headliners, and there's a large crowd of enthusiastic people to watch us.
Do you feel that a more intimate atmosphere gives you a chance to develop more material while you're performing?
In an intimate club atmosphere, you can be more subtle and more intimate. In a large arena, you have to be more theatrical.